Okay, umami. You've all heard of it. It's what's in ketchup. I think Malcolm Gladwell did like a huge profile of ketchup and why it's so popular and the longevity of it as a condiment. But that kind of like really satisfying savory taste is umami. I went through a ramen phase where I was just making like a ton of paleo ramen. And I was using shirataki noodles. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but they're like sweet potato noodles. So like very high carb, but I guess technically more paleo than some kind of glass or rice noodle or, you know, the wheat noodles for sure. But one thing, it was like a crash course in umami because, I mean, it's a word borrowed from Japan. It's a Japanese word, and when you're doing ramen, you know, you're using bonito flakes, which is like dried fish, and you put that in your broth and you boil it, and it really gives, it's like a flavor hack for your bone broth. So if you're already doing bone broth, kudos. Homemade broth is just where it's at. I have like boxes of, you know, I get inspired by a recipe and I'm like, oh, I don't want to make my own broth right now, but I really want to make it. So I cheat and buy the box broth and I just never use it because it's just gross compared to homemade. But if I learned if you put bonito flakes, which are available from Japantown or Asian market, if you can walk over there or take Muni and go over there and get it, they really just bump up the flavor. Fish sauce. I don't know if you know about red boat. Red boat fish sauce is just anchovies and salt, and it's like virgin pressed from a really famous Thai island. You can get it at Whole Foods, but it's like a for sure paleo fish sauce, whereas some of the others have MSG and stuff like that in them. Nasty stuff. And then dried shrimp. I also went through a pad thai phase, and dried shrimp are just awesome. You soak them a little bit, and then you like flash fry them with everything else in your pad thai. And they're like little chewy, they're just a little bit chewy and you don't even notice them because they're so small. Experiment with what kind of the Asian influence has to offer if you're not already familiar with these kind of ingredients. I talked about broth a little bit, but that's full of umami. For the ramen, it took me like 4 days to make the broth, which is a little bit more of an intense thing than I would go through regularly, but I just boiled my bones until they were like, like you could just chew them. Chew right through them. Tomatoes, awesome for giving what you want to do a shot of umami. Roast your tomatoes. I made a roasted tomato and lamb galette. So that's just like playing with umami on top of umami. It's great. Mushrooms, coconut aminos. I'm not sure if everyone's familiar with coconut aminos.
Talk about it.
So it's like a product distilled from coconut that mimics the flavor of soy sauce. So if you want to do something Asian, that's just kind of like, I just do like almost a direct substitution for soy sauce and coconut aminos. You can get them at Whole Foods.